Right now, while you're watching this, something just happened in space that almost nobody on Earth is talking about. A tiny telescope, floating a million miles away from your home, just looked at a single faint dot of light. A dot almost too small to see. And inside that dot, scientists just confirmed the signature of a world the size of Earth, a world with water in its air. A world quiet enough, cool enough, and old enough that something living could already be there. This is not a guess anymore. This is not theory. This is confirmation. And what it means for your family, for your future, and for the question of whether we are alone in the universe has changed forever. This is the story of Earth's hidden twin. If you came here for stories like this, the ones most channels will not touch, hit subscribe. Because what we are about to walk through is something you will not hear on the evening news. To start this story, we have to go back. Not millions of years, just a few decades. Back to a question humans have asked since the first person looked up at the night sky and wondered, are we alone? Is there another Earth? Is there another blue marble out there, with rain falling, with oceans, with sunlight, with life? For most of human history, that question was unanswerable. We had no way to see other stars clearly enough. We had no way to know if the dots of light we saw had worlds around them. We had no way to know if those worlds were rocks, or gas, or something that could hold life. Then, in 2009, NASA launched a small telescope named Kepler, and everything began to change. Kepler looked at one tiny patch of the sky, the size of your fist held up at arm's length, and stared at it for years. It watched tens of thousands of stars, and it waited for those stars to dim. Just a little. Just for a few hours. Because when a planet passes in front of a star, the star dims. Just a tiny bit. Maybe 1%, maybe less. And Kepler was so sensitive it could see that 1% dip. Kepler opened the floodgates. Within a few years, we went from knowing almost no other planets to knowing thousands. We learned that planets are not rare. Planets are everywhere. Most stars have planets. There are more planets in the sky than there are stars you can see with your eyes on a clear night. That alone was a quiet revolution. But Kepler had a problem. Most of the worlds it found were not Earth. Most were huge balls of gas, or tiny balls of rock too close to their stars to be anything but scorched. None of them felt like home. Then the James Webb Space Telescope launched in December of 2021. That is the new telescope, the big one, the most powerful observatory humanity has ever flown. Webb does something Kepler could never do. Webb can look at the air of distant worlds. It can taste the chemistry of their skies. It can ask, is there water? Is there carbon? Is there methane? Is there anything that should not be there unless something alive is making it? And here is where the story begins to unfold. In April of 2025, a team using Webb pointed the telescope at a planet called K2-18b. It sits about 120 light years from Earth. It orbits a small red star in the constellation Leo. Scientists had known about it for years, but Webb was finally powerful enough to go deep, to look past the brightness of the star and into the thin atmosphere of the planet itself. What Webb saw changed everything. The data showed molecules of dimethyl sulfide and carbon disulfide in the planet's air. Those are not random gases. On Earth, the only major source of dimethyl sulfide is life. Tiny ocean plankton, living cells, breathing out this molecule. There is no known volcano or geological process that pumps out that much of it. The simplest explanation is the scariest explanation: life. Now, before your mind runs ahead of mine, let me say this clearly. They said the signal is strong enough to be real, but not strong enough to rule out every other explanation yet. That is important. But here is what is even more important. The fact that we are even able to see this, that a telescope a million miles from your home can taste the chemistry of a planet 120 light years away and whisper possible life, that is the moment. That is what changed. Now let me stop here and slowly walk you through why this matters to you. Not just to a scientist in a lab, to you. If we are not alone in the universe, then everything you have ever been told about your place in the universe is incomplete. Every religion, every philosophy, every bedtime story about the stars, they all start with us. Just us, Earth, the one, the only. But if there is another world out there with even a whisper of life, if there is another blue marble, then we are not alone. Then we are part of something bigger than our own small planet. And that changes what it means to be human. Quietly, slowly, forever. That is the personal stake of the story. This is not just about a telescope. This is about you. Now let me give you the first plot twist. Because while the scientists were chasing K2-18b, they were also chasing something closer, something almost next door on the cosmic scale. In July of 2026, just a few weeks ago from the moment you are watching this, scientists confirmed something called GJ3378b. This world sits only 25 light years from Earth. Think about that distance, 25 light years. That is practically a neighbor in a universe measured in billions. And this neighbor is a super Earth, roughly twice the size of our planet, rocky, not gas. And it sits directly inside the habitable zone of its star, that perfect, not too hot, not too cold region where liquid water can exist on the surface. And here is what made the announcement stunning. When scientists looked closer, the data suggested it may have a sibling, a roughly Earth-sized companion planet following close behind. 2 worlds, 1 star, sitting in the right place for life. Scientists published the confirmation. It is real. It is one of the closest potentially habitable Earth-sized worlds we have ever found. And barely anyone outside of the astronomy community has heard about it. Right now, in this exact moment, there is a world about 25 light years from the chair you're sitting in that could hold oceans, could hold rain, could hold life. That is not science fiction. That is a published, peer-reviewed scientific result. Now let me give you the second plot twist, because this one is even stranger. In 2026, JWST turned its attention to another system called TOI 700, 100 light years away. A small, quiet red dwarf star. Around that star, astronomers had already found 2 Earth-sized planets, TOI 700d and TOI 700e, both sitting inside the habitable zone, both possible water worlds. Webb took a closer look, and the data suggested something that almost no one in the public conversation has caught yet. One of the 2 planets, it is not certain which, may have a companion. An Earth-moon-sized companion. Like an Earth and a moon, like our Earth and our moon, sitting around another star 100 light years away. A planetary pair that looks like our own home, but somewhere else. Think about that. Earth has 1 moon. It helps stabilize our seasons. It helps life not be wiped out. If another planet out there has its own moon, its own companion, then maybe worlds like ours are not rare accidents. Maybe they are a pattern. Maybe a planet getting hit by another rock early in its life and gaining a moon is a common story across the galaxy. This is the kind of discovery that quietly rewrites what we think we know. Now let me explain why this is so personal, why this matters to the air in your lungs. If these new worlds are real, if they truly sit inside the habitable zones of their stars, then the conditions that allowed life to begin on Earth, water, moderate temperatures, a stable orbit, the right mix of chemistry, may be common. Not guaranteed, but common. And if it is common, then the universe may be filled with life we just have not been able to see yet. But here's the part that scares me a little, and I want to be careful with you about this. If life is common, if there are worlds with life out there, then maybe our planet, our little blue marble, is not special because it has life. Maybe we are special because we are conscious, because we are the life that looked up and wondered, the life that built telescopes, the life that is now looking back out into the dark and noticing itself for the very first time. There is something almost holy about that, almost strange, almost breathtaking. Now let me give you the third plot twist. This one connects the new discovery to something very old, something almost mythic. 4.5 billion years ago, Earth was not alone. It had a sister, a world about the size of Mars named Theia that shared Earth's orbit around the young sun. Scientists call this the giant impact hypothesis, and in 2025 and 2026, a wave of new research from teams at the University of Chicago and other labs gave us the strongest evidence yet that Theia really did exist, really did live right next to Earth, really did crash into our young planet in a collision so violent it tilted the Earth, melted parts of its surface, and hurled a giant blob of molten rock into orbit. That blob became our moon. So Earth's hidden twin is not out there. Earth's hidden twin is the thing that crashed into Earth and made us what we are. And here is where the new exoplanet discoveries meet this old story. Because the more worlds we look at with Webb, the more we are seeing the fingerprints of giant impacts everywhere. Many of the rocky worlds out there have weird tilts, weird compositions, weird moons. They might all have had a moment like the Theia impact. They might all have had a twin. They might all have been forged by violence. Earth is not unique. Earth is one pattern among many. And that is the third twist. Earth's twin is not just out there. Earth's twin is part of how we got here. If stories like this, the ones that change what you thought you knew, are the ones you want more of, then hit subscribe right now. Because the discoveries from Webb are coming faster than news outlets can keep up. By the time you see the big headlines, the real story will already be 2 steps ahead. Now I want to slow down again. I want to talk about the human side, not the chemistry, not the telescopes, the people. The JWST team had to fight for this telescope for almost 30 years. It almost got canceled multiple times. Engineers fought budget cuts, scientists fought skepticism, politicians fought over priorities. And through all of that, the people building it kept showing up to work and kept believing that one day it would fly. Then, when it launched, it almost failed. The mirror unfolded in space. But a tiny piece of dust, almost too small to measure, smacked into one of the mirror segments during a micrometeoroid impact and left a small wave in the mirror's shape. Scientists thought the telescope might not work as well as planned. They went back to the lab. They figured out how to fix what could not be fixed. They tilted the mirror slightly. They recalculated the math. And the telescope came back even sharper than before. That is the underdog story of this mission. A team that almost quit. A machine that almost broke. A sky that almost stayed empty. And yet, here we are, with our first strong hints of life on another world, with our first confirmed super-Earth sitting next door, with our first glimpse of a planetary system that looks like our own. Now let me tell you what is going to happen next, and this is the part I want you to sit with. In the next 2 to 3 years, JWST will look at dozens more Earth-sized worlds. It will measure their air. It will taste their chemistry. It will look for water. It will look for carbon. It will look for the building blocks of life as we know it. And it will look for things we do not yet understand. If even a small fraction of those worlds show the same fingerprints that K2-18b showed, the conversation changes forever. If any of them show stronger signals, the question, "Are we alone?" stops being a question. It becomes a fact we are living through. There is a real deadline here, not a fake one. Not a hype one, a real one. Webb has a limited amount of fuel. The telescope will not last forever. Most scientists believe Webb will be able to do its best work for about another 10 years, maybe a bit more. After that, we will not have a telescope this powerful for a long time, maybe decades. So right now, today, while you are watching this, we are in the middle of the most important window in the history of the search for life. The window where we have the tool. The window where we have the targets. The window where the answers are about to land. You are inside that window, not as a scientist, as a witness. And that is what I mean by the title of this video. Earth has a hidden twin. We are just now seeing it. Not behind the sun, not in some conspiracy corner of the internet. Out there, in the dark, quiet, waiting for us to notice. Now let me zoom out. Let me put this in a bigger frame. Not a telescope frame, a human frame. When we look up at the night sky and feel small, that is not a bad thing. That is a real thing. To know that we are on one small planet, around one small star, in one ordinary arm of one ordinary galaxy, in a universe full of galaxies we cannot even count, that is not nothing. That is huge. But now we add to that. We add that we may not be alone. That some other little blue marbles might be out there with their own weather, their own oceans, their own quiet mornings. That the same chemistry that made you might have made somebody else somewhere else at some other time. And we are only now, in our short little human lives, finally catching the proof. That is not just science, that is a shift. The kind of shift that people 1,000 years from now will look back at and say, that was the moment. That was when the world changed. And the strange part is, you do not have to do anything special to be part of it. You just had to be alive. You just had to pay attention. And by watching this, that is what you are doing. So let me ask you to do 2 things. First, drop a comment below. Tell me what you think. Do you think we will confirm life on another world within 10 years? Do you think Earth's twin has its own life? Do you think we should be trying harder to listen? Tell me, honestly. Second, share this video with one person. Just one. The person in your life who looks up at the stars sometimes and wonders. The person who still has that quiet curiosity. Send it to them. Let them feel this moment too. Thank you so much for being here. Stories like this only get told because of people like you, because of people who refuse to look away, because of people who still wonder if we are alone. We may be about to find out we are not. And if we do, it will be partly because you stayed curious long enough to be here when it happened. Take care of yourself, take care of your people, and do not stop looking up. One last thing. Tonight, when you walk outside, look up. Find the brightest patch of sky you can see. Somewhere in that patch, in the dark, there's a star with a planet that might have oceans, a planet that might have rain. And on that planet, if we are lucky, there is something small alive, something that does not know we exist, but something that tonight, after billions of years of silent waiting, finally has someone looking back.